presentation.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in the industry for about 10 years now, and I actually started out doing in the VFX industry. I was at Rhythm and Hues in Malaysia. So we did two different movies, Snow White and the Huntsman and Seven Son. We did a lot of like realistic animals. I did that for about 3 years, and I moved into doing animated TV series for like Lego Star Wars, some Angry Birds series as well. I did that for about 4 years, and I got into Moon Studios, working on Ori and the Will of the Wisp. So it's a Microsoft game. It's a smallish studio. I did that for about a year and a half or so, and after that, I moved on to Sucker Punch and worked on Ghost for the past year. Ghost of Tsushima, that is. Yeah. So I've touched like VFX animation, TV animated stuff, and games as well. Yeah.
Is there one you prefer? Do you like doing a bit of everything?
I like doing animated movies as well because
Oh yeah,
I like doing a lot of like these snappy, cartoony stuff,
yeah.
and I also like doing games because I spend a lot of time playing games.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah. Wait, how's it now?
Oh yes, great. The playback's good.
Thanks. Right.
Such an awesome shot.
Thank you.
Yeah, what was your I guess really everyone wants to know what was your planning stage like? What was your your blocking? Use
Yeah.
any references?
I have a very like systematic workflow when I do my personal work. I always like to like spend a lot of time in the planning phase. So I have this bouncing ball just to block out the area, just to get the timing right. It's all very like generic shapes, and I even have the camera movement. And this whole timing and the camera movement is not 100% right, but it's about 85, 90% there. And at the final product, I will tweak the timing a little bit. And I even have the weapon to just see the movement and see the arc. And I also spend time on sketching it, sketching out the poses.
It's great. Also, you actually lay out your camera and then you draw on top of your camera movement.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly. It's exactly the same as this one, except the ball is not there. And I just draw out these poses.
yeah, that's a great idea. Do you do the drawings before the ball or the ball first?
I usually spend a lot of time like thinking about the idea, this whole scene itself, and I don't think the whole thing as in like from beginning to end. I just think of like certain key moments that I want to have in my animation.
Hmm.
Like for example, I wanted him to like do a up slash and then do this charge down slam thing,
Hmm.
and I know I wanted to have this moment right here where he's throwing the weapon behind his back and spinning and he catches it. Um, and these moments here, like this slam down and doing these multiple hits. And once I have all these like different snippets of ideas, I patch them up. I figure out a way to patch them up all together to link them up. So they have all these like different key moments, and I try to figure out how to space them out. Because if you have too many big moments stitched right after each other, it's a little too much, and the rhythm is kind of off and weird. So I I create like a different. I have this thing of like timing, how to create timing, which is to have small, medium, and big beats. So like a big beat could be like something like this, like a giant slam or something like that when he throws the sword. And I have like small beats, which is small movements like this. There's multiple hits and medium beats. What's a medium beat? I guess something like this, like a medium beat.
Do you,
And what's that?
do you plan out those beats, or do you just kind of animate it and see how it feels?
I have it planned in my head. I kind of create the music in my head, the small, medium, and big beats. And once I have that kind of idea in my head, I'll try to think of poses of how would I create that beat with what pose. Like how would I create a small beat, and how would I create a medium beat that can eventually lead up to a big beat. Um, yeah, timing is pretty hard to explain sometimes.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's creating a nice rhythm and tempo. That's what I always try and teach everyone as well.
Right.
Is it's and you mentioned song earlier, so it is kind of like a song where you want like the build up to a climax, and then once the climax happens, there needs to be a drop to slow down.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because it's like music. When people are playing the piano, they don't hit the key like the same way every time. Sometimes they hit the keys really soft. Sometimes they hit it really hard. It's that kind of same theory into it. So I get a lot of like inspirations of getting timing and beats from musics and movies as well from all of these things.
Mhm.
Like especially like Jackie Chan, his kind of fight scenes. He has a very nice rhythm, and he has very nice framing of silhouette and posing. And yeah, there's a lot of inspiration from different mediums, and that's how you learn timing and rhythm, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I think I heard somewhere that Jackie Chan builds his movies around his fight scenes, whereas unlike a Hollywood movie, it's you have a movie, a story, and then you build your set pieces into that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I I'm not sure if he actually does that, but I by looking at his movies, I can probably guess that he does that because his fight scenes are a lot better than his writing in his movies. Yeah,
Create a plot around a fight scene, you know.
yeah, yeah. A lot of the fight scenes are like pretty nonsense. Like, why are you guys fighting? This,
Yeah. Claudia is asking, do you find you watch out for the animation while you're playing games? Like, do you take notes of elements that you like?
can you repeat that?
Do you find you watch out for the animation while you're playing games? Or take notes of elements you like? So if you're playing a game, a video game, do
Hmm.
you pay attention to something, how they move, something you like? If you see something that's awesome, you go and write it down somewhere, keep it for later. I do that with movies. When I'm watching something, I'll be like,
Hmm.
that part from that movie, I'm going to remember that. So once it's done, I just go and screen capture it, write it down. So I don't know if that's what
Uh,
games as well.
right. Usually, first time if I'm playing the game for the first time, I probably won't look at the animation. I'll just be in the moment and just enjoy it. And usually, like the second, third time, or fourth, fifth time, I'll start to study the animation and the small details. Yeah, like for like Spider Verse, I studied it like multiple times. I played it back over and over, frame
Mm,
by frame, certain
yeah.
moments. Yeah, so the study moment comes in like after the first time I watched through the movie or played through the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You have to enjoy it at some point
yeah,
without
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about it. You know,
yeah, yeah,
did you?
for sure.
There's a bit of Spider Verse influence in this shot, right?
Huh. I'm I'm not sure actually. I think my the things that I like is it's I think it's just coincidence that Spider Verse looks like that as well. But
Yeah.
a lot of my inspiration for my style came from League of Legends animation.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I like the snappy style. I also like Cloudy with the Chance of Meatballs and the Lego movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the way they use smears like in Lego movies. They actually add a brick or a piece of like spaghetti to
Mm,
create a smear effect.
right.
Yeah, also like smears a lot, as you can tell, with the weapon
Yeah.
and the hands like this.
Is that just 3D geometry, just kind of mashed in?
This thing, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just geometry that I just use the lattice tool and just like pull it out to look like this.
Yeah, I love it. And how did you constrain that sword? Like, how did you give it the ability to, stick to the hand and then throw it and come back? Did you have to do a lot of baking, I guess? And
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of like baking and then using locators and then bake it back into the weapon. Yeah, it was pretty tricky, but I managed to get it to work. And this rig has a thing where you could just turn off the parent of the weapon to the hand or to the world space.
okay, that
Yeah,
helps.
so one frame I'll just turn it off to like world space, and one frame turn it off to hand
Yeah.
space. Yeah, but when I block out this whole scene, if I like block out this whole scene, I don't think about things like that yet about what space the weapon's at.
Hmm.
That's why you could see it's pretty messy right here because right now this first blocking phase I'm just focusing on all these poses. Um, oh yeah, I should probably explain how I got to here. Like after I got all these sketches in and I started blocking out, I block out exactly what I see here. So if this pose is on this frame, I will pose it exactly on this frame. So I can kind of focus on one thing at a time. I can focus on just the poses and then focus on the timing later. So this blocking phase is exactly what you saw on the sketches and the bouncing ball, but it's just to post the character in and then I could arrange the timing later on.
Yeah, it's great. And do you use any references for your poses? Or is that just, I guess it seems like there's a bit of anime, bit of game
Yeah,
influence, yeah, bit
yeah,
of
for
everything.
sure. Because I'm a big fan of anime and martial arts.
Hmm.
So, and because this is animation, you just go crazy, just do crazy shit that you can't do in real life.
Exactly, yeah.
And I don't really use video references, but I do like move with, I mean, pose out the character with my body, so I can see how it feels,
Hmm.
and does it make like, especially like this part right here, this multiple slashes. I was trying to figure out if this makes sense to like hit here and then hit there, and how does it feel? How does the timing feel? Uh, yeah, but as much as a recording reference, I didn't really do much for this one. A lot of it's a lot of me animating and then me going to the side, taking a stick and then performing it, see how it feels, understanding where does the movement come from. Does it come from my chest? Does it come from my hips?
Hmm.
What moves first? Does my head move first, or does my hand move first? So yeah, that's my reference. It's actually just performing it.
Yeah, you have a beautiful blend of um, like energy and snappiness, and then combined with weight, and where the energy transfers and things like that, while keeping it,
Thank
you
you.
realistic as well. And I love your use of camera space.
Oh, thank you.
The way, yeah, how you throw the sword and how close it gets to camera. You know how the zombies swipe the camera as well when your camera's moving.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, when I think this is my first time animating a moving camera with a character moving this fast because I wanted to experiment like does my animation style work with a moving camera, like a real life movie or something.
Hmm. Yeah.
And yeah,
Are those camera cuts within the Maya scene, or are they two separate scenes?
it's the same Maya scene. So it's just one frame. It's just one frame snap between two cameras.
Or does that mean your animation, if you look at it from in the Maya scene perspective, it's all just one seamless movement?
No, I have to tweak it a little bit. So one frame he's like up here, and then another frame he's like down here with a
Gotcha.
slightly
Yeah.
different pose.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to pose it for the camera. So and because this is a one frame change, I could kind of cheat a little bit. Where is it? Here.
And maybe you could tell everyone your principles on smear frames, like when to use it. You know, how do you use it? When to use it?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. Uh, Smears, I think you use it when a movement is just way too fast. Like for this moment right here, this zip through, him going from here to here. Because he's moving so fast and it's hard to see if it goes across the screen like that. So that's when I use smears. And the way I space out my smear frames is, let's say this is the sword, and he moves like down here, the next frame. His smear should be like this. You know, should be where the last frame was left off, and next frame it could be here, and the smear could be like that. So there's like a bit of like what do you call spacing with the smear. If you track the edge of it, it's like it goes from a small space to a bigger space and into a bigger space. And one thing I realized about smears is that you can't have it on for too long. Usually I have it about 2 to 3 frames, sometimes 4. Because if you have your smears for too long, it looks like your character is actually stretching like a rubber. I think that right here, it's pretty quick smear. It's a big one right there, and 1, 2. There's about 2, and then you go to this like spinning thing. Thing here as well. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, smears. I think there's a bit there's like an ease out for smears, ease out and ease in as well, and uh yeah, I think there's a lot of playing with it to kind of figure out how much or how long you should smear it for. But the safe zone is usually like 2 to 4 frames of smearing. Anything longer, it'll look like your character is being lengthened, being stretched too much.
Yeah. And with plotting out your path, you know, where your character is running,
Mm-hmm.
is that just organic as well?
What do you mean by organic?
Was it just like you kind of just made it up as you went, really? So you know, without so you know how your character runs through the zombies, like
Mm-hmm.
you could easily just go run a straight line, but that's not
Yeah,
interesting. So
yeah.
you created a nice little path to run through and around, and then it zips around another zombie, jumps on a zombie's head. Um, you know, just trying to choreograph that. It seems very natural.
Oh.
Just wondering if you just made it up as you went, or if you had an idea
No,
of that.
I probably have the idea in my head. I spend a lot of time like thinking about it, and I always think about variety, like how do I create variation of things that's happening, so it's not always a character being not a character slashing characters after another, one after another. So I always like to think like, okay, there's a moment where he does all these attacks. There's a moment where he runs, and in an arc, there's a moment where he doesn't have the weapon in his hand. There's a moment where he
Mm-hmm.
jumps on a zombie's head. So I think of a lot of little pieces like this in a shot like this, and then I figure out how to like join them together. Like, oh, at this moment he could do his running. At this moment he could be throwing his weapon, and at this moment he could be moving without his weapon. Create like a variety like that.
Yeah, it's brilliant because I love how you see there you jump backwards and
Mm-hmm.
then he spins around and then he does that jumping attack. And then
Yeah,
here he runs around a zombie. And I love that little slide he does. And then he turns and runs and jumps on a zombie. So like it's just a cool like mixed blend of ideas and fun like body mechanics as well.
yeah, for sure. I like to like just go crazy with my personal animations and just
Yeah,
do things that in movies you might not get a shot like this in movies or anything. So I think
exactly.
like
To
like
do it yourself.
personal work is a way to like kind of like express yourself and let loose.
And the zombies, like you wanted to add that in. Was that always the plan to add in these zombies getting smashed?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Because I was animated like this character slashing in air like at nothing.
Oh yeah.
And I see a lot of people doing animations like that. That is just one character slashing the air at nothing. So I wanted to experiment and try like, what if I add all these like zombies? I was thinking about ways I could streamline this bunch of characters.
Mhm.
So I just took one of these zombie dudes and created like a zombie walk, and I just copy and paste throughout all these characters,
Yeah,
and I just offset them a little bit, place them around the map in a different position.
yeah.
Yeah. But I usually do that at the last phase of things. So I was going back between like the main character and then animating the zombies.
Mhm.
Um, so at the first multiple passes, it's just focus on Ekko, making him look good. And then I would place the zombie where he's doing his hits. So if he's doing a hit at that moment, I would place the zombie walking towards that hit, I guess. And then I could animate the zombie being hit as well.
What about your with cameras? I love your camera angles and the way they hook up as well. The energy just feels seamless. Do you have, I guess, any tips, any tricks you want to share with cameras, camera
Yeah,
cuts, camera hookups?
yeah, sure, for sure. For camera work, you want to keep things pretty linear, so you don't want your cameras to be like doing all these different things uh, too much. You want them to be pretty. They move in a very small smart, and I like to move my camera with following the character. So for moments like this, like these all these different hits, if I could, I would move the camera after I'll move the camera after Ekko moves. So if Ekko starts moving here, I would move the camera a little bit, a few frames behind, a few frames offset.
So action leads the
Yeah,
camera.
yeah. The action leads the camera exactly. So the character moves first, and then the camera moves. Here as well, the character moves, then the camera moves. The graph for the camera, it's usually like this, pretty linear. And then when it hits his finish line, it would be a nice ease out. But at this portion right here, it's pretty linear. I'll keep it as linear as possible, usually.
Yeah, I always use the example of if it's, if you're shooting a film, an action shot, the
Hmm.
cameraman is trying to keep up with the actor or the stunt actor. So it's not going to follow it perfectly. So he needs to see where Jackie Chan is going. He's fighting, So
Yeah,
it's always going to be a few frames behind.
yeah, exactly.
Do you know how long this shot took you from planning to final?
Uh, it took quite a while because I was taking my time with this since I was working full time, and sometimes I would just not work on it. But it took a period of like 2 months of on and off working on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I spaced out at 2 months, I was able to like go back and look at this animation with fresh eyes and see what I did wrong. So there was a lot of like tweaking back and forth, and there's a lot of like figuring out how to do certain things.
Yeah.
Like for example, which one? Like this movement here, when he slams his sword down and he does his spin and he catches it. I was trying to figure out how he would do that because in real life this is pretty close to impossible. But is that one of those cool moments that I want to put into the animation, and I just trying to figure out how do I do it because I know that I wanted him to like slam his weapon down, and his weapon would spin and he would catch it in a cool pose, and then he would continue his mini attacks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So with that time in between that break, did you find that while working on it, you had to? There's some days where you didn't feel like working on it. You didn't feel like looking at it, so you maybe take a few days off from animating.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I definitely did that because
So that
I was
helps.
spending. Yeah, it does help. I was spending a little bit of time every day just to work on this. Like even if it's like 15, 30 minutes, I would just spend some time uh, do something just to keep it moving forward.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that really helps when you take a break and go do something else. Go work out, go watch an animated movie. Sometimes I would study animation. I'll go frame by frame and study like what how they do certain things, and that kind of inspires me. And I could just take that inspiration and that kind of little bit of studying and put in my work.
Yeah, and you really have dynamic posing. Do you have any tips there to share with
Dynamic.
posing? Because your posing is great.
Thank you. Posing. I would say don't be afraid to push your character, the pose. Like if you have your like don't be afraid to push your character crazy like that. No, crazy poses like that. I think that was one of the things that kind of helped me back in the past with my animation is that I was playing it safe. I was playing the safe zone,
Hmm.
um, and I realized that I was getting to the mindset of thinking like, if I could animate the way I wanted to, how would I animate it? Instead of having a director that tells you to animate this way, to do it this way, how would you do it if it's all up to you? And I think that kind of mindset helped me break out of my comfort zone. And I thought about, okay, if I wanted to animate the way I did it, I would probably do it like the things I like anime stuff because anime has like insane poses and it's pretty ridiculous. So I did exactly that. Like I posed my characters in the most crazy way, and I think that really helped me push forward. Yeah.
What about your sense of weight? You have some really nice weight, even though like you can hit beautiful poses. It wouldn't work without weight. So is there any tips there for just getting that little bit of extra believable weight on your characters on your character moving here, especially a
Right.
lot of transitions, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, your
Uh,
ideas on weight shift.
hmm. I think weight. It's kind of like I would like to go back to the bouncing ball for this when I tackle with weight when I'm animating like especially heavy characters. I like to go back to the bouncing ball and just kind of see how heavy things feel. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so you could see things, see your body as like bouncing balls. Like this, the chest is a bouncing ball, the hips is a bouncing ball, the head is another bouncing ball, and how would they affect one another? Depending on how they move. If they lead with the hips, and how would the 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 chest react to that, and how the head would react to that. Uh, yeah, I think that's my way of like thinking about weight is figuring out what moves your character, what's influencing it. Is it being moved by something, or are they moving themselves? Do they have like a limp? How big they are, uh, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I'll read you a question here from Iman. What's your opinion on excluding the impact frame? like animating a punch with a frame before impact and straight to the overshoot. So no contact pose frame. Would that be too quick?
I seen some games
Mm.
and movies do that. Like instead of having the punch, like one frame where the hand contacts the face or whatever,
Yeah,
it would just ends with the pose like
yeah,
that, and the face is like a turn being hit.
yeah.
Uh, I think that that depends on the game or the medium that you use. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. They have that impact frame. I think a lot of games they don't have the impact frame. You just see the finished pose and there's like a giant smear effect and the character being knocked off and with effects. Um, I think with all that things going on, it helps sell the movement because you have all these hit effects and all these swipes. But if you're animating without any of that going on, I think it's hard to sell the impact. Yeah,
I see. I didn't know that with games.
yeah,
That's interesting. Kind of makes
yeah.
sense.
Because to make things more responsive, they have to take some shortcuts. So in games,
Mm.
you you don't get a lot of like anticipation frames. You only get maybe 1 or 2 frames of this anticipating like this, and then the next frame he's already in his end pose, settling into his end pose.
Yeah, yeah. Right. And did you spend much time here polishing your shot, or your blocking was pretty solid, right, to begin with?
But yeah, I spent a lot of time on the polish as well because I wanted to like animate the hair as well and the fingers, and I track everything like the hands and the sword and make sure that it's got nice arcs. Like even
Okay.
yeah, even and I try to put arcs everywhere, even if it doesn't seem like it needs it. Like especially movements like this, where
Mhm.
he's going straight up and straight down. I would make him actually move to the side like that. Instead of going straight up, he would actually move like that. So he would actually move like this and he goes straight down like that, or straight up and like that.
Yep.
So you don't want things to be like always on the linear like that or like that. Yeah, so I find the polishing phase, try to put arcs as much as you can. On most places you can put it, but some places you can't put an arc, like a punch, a straight punch. It just goes in a straight line. But after that, you can add a lot of arcs.
Mhm.
And like all these arcs, it creates a very nice flowy movement to it. Yeah, I think that's what makes it very flowy, makes things very flowy. It's the tracking the arcs.
Yeah, especially on the tip of your sword, like you were
Yeah,
saying.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
what do you use to track your arcs?
I use, I think Maya's generic motion tracker.
Okay.
Yeah, I use that.
Yeah. That's why animating the camera, I think, is kind of neat because you can track in camera space.
Yeah.
Do you pretty much use the same workflow for all your shots, like the other ones
Uh,
before as well?
for personal shots like this, I would use this method. But for certain things like especially gameplay animation, where it's just one movement is like a punch or a jump, I wouldn't go with this technique. But for longer shots like my other Ori animation that I sent you, the one with the monkey,
Yeah,
I use like a similar workflow, except I don't use the bouncing ball, but I use the sketching. I sketch
sure.
out the poses as well,
Yeah.
and I actually submit this to my leads. You know, like how does it look? You know, this is my idea, and it's a good way of getting ideas out quickly without spending too much time posing out the characters because you spend a lot of time posing them out, and sometimes if they don't approve it, you wasted a big chunk of your time. But if you spend maybe an hour just drawing out these animation, you can get the idea across,
Yeah,
and you can hit multiple ideas at one go.
and it's pretty fun animating
Yeah,
too in a moving camera.
oh
Uh,
yeah, it is.
is there for your polish stage? Is there anything else you do apart from check the arcs?
I checked the spacing as well for different for like the hands and the feet, everything pretty much. The spacing like the hands here, Like how would they? If I check the hands here like that, oh, there's no ghosting. Yeah, like how the spacing would be like from the last pose. You see, it's like slowly getting bigger and bigger. I track things like that.
Oh, yeah. If you
Yeah.
press G, that'll ghost.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And I also make sure that the spacing on all these different parts, they're all different. So they don't always have this exactly same spacing. Sometimes you have something like that. Sometimes you have like a very gradual one. It depends on the body part. Like the bigger the body, it will be a more linear, a smoother kind of ease out versus like a hand, which is a very quick ease out.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
And yeah, doing that I think it helps create like a more organic feel to your characters. And I also make sure that there's offset in the body, so the hands and the body don't move at the same time. For example, like this, you can see his legs move first, then his hips starts kicking in, his chest starts kicking in a little bit, and now the chest is really taking over. But the hand is still like back here, and
Mhm.
then the hand can come out. So you create a nice offset. Like if you watch this part over and over, you could see that it comes from the hips, and then it goes to the chest, and then it goes to the hand. Yeah, same thing like the landing, like this. The feet leads, then the hips takes over, but the hand is still up in the air, and then the hand is still up in the air, and then you could start moving down like that.
Yeah, that's great.
The funny thing about this shot is I didn't intend to make this loop at the end. It actually loops. I
No,
was planning this out. I'm like, wait, this actually loops.
that's why I feel seamless. The energy just continues.
Yeah.
Feeling motivated to work on personal stuff. What do you do?
Oh. Hmm. I would watch some animated movies, maybe play some games, or sometimes I'll look for like game cinematics online, and I would actually like study it like frame by frame and see how they do things. Yeah, that's one of the things that really motivates me because you start to see people do all these things, and you know that you could do it as well, and you want to see if it works. I find that pretty motivating because I want to do all these different things, and I just don't know how to do it. And I just watch people and see how they do it and see their finished work and see, oh, is that how they do it? Maybe I could do that in Maya too and just try it out. And I think the more you do it, the better you get and the more motivated you get.
So you feel it's pretty important to work on personal shots in your own time? It
Do I
probably
think
is.
it's
Yeah, do
good?
you think it's important? I think it is.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Place to
Because
learn.
at one point of my life, I didn't do any personal work at all. Um, and then I kind of like had a hard time in my life. Like I just don't know what I'm doing in my life. And finding something that you can feel very excited about. Animation was one of the things that kind of excites me. At one point in my life, I actually almost quit animation just because I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over, and I felt like the industry wasn't going anywhere. So I had like what do you call? I'm not sure what the word is, but you feel like I have to do something about it. Like you're pushed to the corner, you're pushed to the edge,
Right.
and yeah. So I thought like, okay, this is my last shot in this animation thing, and I joined this animation challenge by Jason Shum. If you have you heard of Jason Shum?
Oh, yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he has these anim breaks in the past. I joined this animation contest, and I thought like, okay, I'm just gonna have fun with this. I'm just gonna create some really silly things, really snappy. This is not going to go in production, so it's not going to affect what
Hmm.
lighting is going to look like. So I just went crazy and just animated it the way I want to do it, and yeah, it did pretty good. And then I just keep doing like next animation. I did the exact same thing. I just animate the way I want it, and I just keep improving little by little. You know, I just try to do a little bit more. Like, what if my characters does a lot of spins? What if my characters uh, were different gender or different size? And yeah, just step by step, slowly push yourself. And once you get to a certain point, you get good at your skill, and that motivates you to just keep going.
Yeah. So did you find that you were losing a lot of creative flow or ideas and motivation, and you just wanted to discover that passion again, right? So, and once you start doing your own thing, really, you're not animating as someone else's vision. You're animating your own ideas, and then that's when your confidence comes back and again your passion. So that's
Yeah,
yeah, I know how you feel. I understand
yeah,
that, and I think a lot of these guys, my students, feel the same as well. So they're looking for that. So
mm.
it's a
You mean
good
they're
question.
looking for like motivation?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of animators sometimes, um, even when you're trying to get into the industry, you're trying to
Hmm.
create a demo reel that's not yours, but you're trying to guess what studios want, and you're animating that.
Yeah,
And then when that doesn't get you hired, then you start losing motivation and passion. But I always encourage everyone to just animate what you want to do. If it's characters, if it's creatures, and
right.
just get awesome at it because that's what you love. And then you're going to get hired based on being good at what you love.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Because when you look at someone's demo reel, sometimes you could tell that they're not really into this. You know, they're not really enjoying it. They're just doing it because the industry wants it or wants you to do things like this. So animating things that you like to do is really important. Like if you want to get into the animated movies and you want to do snappy animation, just do snappy animations. That's it. Just focus on that. If you want to do like realistic VFX animations, focus on just that. Um, and that can really help you, you know, get into the door. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and
agree.
also yeah, animate what you want, not what the industry wants.
Yeah,
Yep. So this is my other animation. That's a very similar workflow as well.
yeah, it's
And my
awesome.
process, yeah, it's pretty similar, like with the bouncing ball. I start out with this just to get the timing right and you know the arcs. And there's I have a moving camera back from. I was gonna do like a moving camera, like just tilting left and right, but I felt like it was a little bit too much because your character is here, and then the thing she's throwing is back here. It's a lot of things going on left and right, so I thought of just just keep the camera steady, and maybe it'll be easy to see. There's I have sketches as well, which is pretty similar. I kept this exact timing and just drew over it, and when I blocked it out, I blocked out exactly what I saw on my sketches. And every time I make my personal animations, I like to focus on one little thing. Like for this animation, I was focusing on speed blocking. So I was blocking this out like really quick because the character is so tiny right here. If I rotate the camera to perspective, you could see like it's pretty messed up, but it looks good in camera. That's because that's what I was focusing on is to like speed block and see how fast can I go. I'm not sure how fast I went and blocked this out, but it was a lot faster than what I usually do.
It feels great. There's a nice. I love the weight when she catches the blade and it throws her backwards into a backflip.
Yeah, thank you. You mean that one?
Yeah, feels so good.
Yeah, that was my favorite moment in this. I like doing things like this where the character's moving back, but she or he is throwing something forward.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, as you can see from Ekko as well, he does things like that.
yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, it's just this is super cool.
Because it adds a bit of thrust, right? So if you're throwing something heavy, forward, you can use that as acceleration to like kick you backwards, to throw you
Oh,
backwards.
yeah, that's true. I actually didn't think of that. But yeah, that makes sense. I think it came from like watching anime. There's anime. There's a lot of crazy things like this,
Yeah,
like jumping backwards and throwing a fireball or shooting a gun.
yeah, it's very Naruto.
Yeah, it's very, very Naruto, very anime. Is there a
And I see you're a fan of like the spinning blades, which is cool. You've got
yeah,
a lot of spinning.
yeah. I like things that's like spins, like whether it's the character or weapons.
How do you
Uh,
keep a clean spin without any, you know, rotation, axis, crossing, gimbal locks? It's all
how,
seems pretty clean.
right. How do I keep it so clean with the
Yeah,
spinning?
like the arcs. Yeah.
Right. I have two separate controllers. So one controller is to control the translation,
Mm-hmm.
and another controller to control the rotation. So the
Okay.
rotation is just doing the spinning of the weapon, nothing else. But the other controller is to control where I placed it on the map, or sometimes I have to rotate it as well.
Yeah, yeah. So you have a locator hierarchy.
Yeah. Oh, this was the sketches for that animation.
That's great. Is that grease pencil? Just in Maya?
Yeah, this one is grease pencil, but for the Echo, I was using something called blue pencil.
Mm-hmm.
It's a paid script, but it's like grease pencil, but much more stuff. You have layers, you have colors. You could change a layer to a static, so you can create a background, things like that.
Cool. You
It's
always
my
do.
go-to.
You always use 3D smears, don't you? You don't do any post 2D smears.
No, not yet, but I was gonna do it for the new animation I'm creating for Aang. I'm gonna create some like 2D animation for the effects, like the fires and the wind and the waters.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
Do you what are some of your favorite anime for fight scenes?
Oh, um, I have a soft spot for Dragon Ball Z. I
Yeah.
always love Dragon Ball Z. I think like every kid in the '90s would feel the same way.
If you go
Uh,
back and watch it, the fight scenes are just like, you know, two characters moving across and just like, you know, the arms just going. So
yeah, it's just a loop of doing this.
but
It's
you
just
know, as a
teleporting.
sequence, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. They're here and then they're here and then they're here.
yeah,
But it's fun, you know. It's,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, Dragon Ball Z. I think there's this anime. I'm not sure what they're called. They're called Sakura animators. Have you heard of them?
no.
So they specialize in animating fight scenes in animes, and they have really good animation. Like they have cloths and the weapons. It's it's insane how they do it. I don't understand how they do it because it looks like a lot of work. Um, and sometimes like big animation companies like One Piece or
Mm,
Naruto, they would have them animate this fight sequence.
yeah,
And yeah, I always like watching their animations. It's insane.
cool. How do you? What are they called? Is it studio?
No, it's not studio. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but they're
It's
called
probably.
Sakuga, Sakuga, Sakuga animators.
All
I'm
right.
not sure. Are they? Is the Sakuga animators is like a position in the animation? You know, there's animators and then there's Sakuga animators.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a that's a cool little niche to be just known for your fight scenes and you just animate fight scenes for
yeah,
TV series or whatever. That's or cinematics.
yeah. I think because there's so much work that goes into this particular style of animation
Yeah,
that you need a focus amount of animators to do it.
specialized. Yeah. Um, do you move the pivot points for some of your dynamic moves?
The pivot point. What do you mean?
Um, I'm guessing he means like, you know, when you transition from pose to pose or action to action, do you change your pivot points? Um, you know, like shift your pivot point. Say your character's jumping from one one side of the room to the other, or even like the pivot point of your sword, or maybe you don't. Maybe your pivot point stays where it is.
You mean like the main control, right? The big one at the bottom? Is that
Um,
it?
no, I'm thinking he means like, um, say for example, like this frame right here. See how your
Mm-hmm.
sword's in the ground?
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing the pivot point had to be moved to the bottom, to the ground, right?
Oh, wait. Not too much. Not for this. I didn't want to do that because it's gonna be pretty technical.
Mm-hmm.
And because things are moving so fast, like there's a little bit of pivot animation going on there, right there.
Mm-hmm.
I just hand key it.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, but if he was doing that for a lot longer and he's a lot of walking back and forth, then I would probably create like a pivot point for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to know. It keeps you in the flow of animation rather than trying to just constrain and constrain, right? And baking out. You
Yeah,
just you just focused on energy.
yeah, for sure. And for me, like a lot of these things is pretty annoying, like to deal with constraints and pivot points and gimbal locks. When I block out all my shots, I don't think about that at all. I just animate the way I see it.
Mhm.
And because we have like tools like animbot and all these crazy tools that you could just like change the spaces of all these controllers, I didn't have to worry about make sure like this is in the hand space, this is in wall space, and things like that. I could just switch it later on, not to worry. When I'm in a polishing stage, I would do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I would like to focus on one thing at a time. So blocking, I would just focus on just the posing, and I could focus on the timing, and I could focus on the breakdowns later on.
yeah. I like that.
Is that how you work as well?
Yeah, I try and if it requires constraints anywhere, I'll even just block in the movement, like hand key it without
Mm.
even constraining it, just to save time because I know the it's going to move anyway and it's not going to be precise. So constraints I save for way later down
Yeah.
into deeper blocking.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, otherwise you just again, yeah, you just get bogged down with too much technical. Yeah,
Yeah.
just
I
try
think
and
that's the challenge with 3D animation. It's really powerful, but there's all these like technical stuff that it gets really annoying.
yeah. I feel that's Maya. Personally, I feel like Maya needs to evolve because
Wait.
this is the same workflow, same constraints that I used, 20 years ago. Why has it not changed? Like even having your sword constrained to the hand and having that switched on and off to break it, that's going to save so much time, increase your workflow, your
Yeah.
efficiency. Um, yeah, Maya just needs to do better, in my opinion. And I can't write it. I'm not a scripter or anything, but
Yeah.
yeah, I just feel like you know things like ZBrush came out and that changed everything for modelers, sculptors, textures.
I
It'd
see.
be nice if there was something for animation like that.
Yeah.
It really is just focusing on animation.
Mm.
That's my thought, anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Like I wish like animation was a lot more easier. Like you just grab the foot and you just move it, and it would just move exactly the way you want it.
That would be nice.
Like move everything like you're sculpting the pose pretty much, or you're just posing the character like an action figure, and you don't have to worry about this thing is just it's influenced by the hips.
Hmm.
So be careful
Yeah,
with that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A bit more intuitive animation. I think there's stuff coming out anyway. Does anybody else have questions? Let's see. Have you ever got lost during a personal project?
Got lost? Like you don't know what you're doing? Like your animation?
That's what I think. I'm guessing, just say you're animating Ekko fighting zombies and maybe it's not turning out the way you like,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. It happens with this particular animation sometimes. Like especially like these moments right here. I'm trying to get him to catch the weapon. I tweaked it a bunch, like trying different ways to like how would he catch it, and it will still look cool. Um, there are certain moments like that in the animation that was pretty tricky to figure out, but it took me some tries, some tweaks, trials and errors, and finally get it right.
yeah. Also, don't be afraid to block out a chunk of work, and if you don't like it, don't be afraid to completely delete it. Like just
Yeah.
get rid of it and just do it again from scratch. You'll
Oh,
find
yeah.
that things will be cleaner, things will be a lot quicker when you do it.
Yeah, for sure. I think I scrapped a few like personal projects just because I just got way too ambitious,
All right.
and yeah, I thought like that's way too much, so I have to try a different idea.
You mean it will take too long?
It was too much work, and Maya was going crazy. Maya was crashing like crazy because of like how heavy all these assets was going on.
Mm.
I think I had one personal animation I was planning out as four different characters, and they're all like pretty heavy rigs. And
Uh,
Maya just kept crashing on me. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do this one then. I'll just try something simple.
do you find, I guess, from that lesson, it's nice to work with really light rigs.
Yeah,
So again, you're not limited by your graphics card or your RAM or your computer speed. You're just like in this shot feels pretty light, so it feels like you could almost play it back in real time in your viewport.
yeah, for sure. But that's why I picked these characters. They are super light, and they can do just enough for what I wanted. And even Ekko itself, he is pretty light. It's a pretty light rig. So yeah, I agree with you. I like to use like really light rigs, and I can move, animate fast as well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, if anyone else doesn't have any other questions, I'll wrap this up and let you be on your way. Let's see if
Yeah.
there's any last few questions. What's the name of the drawing pencil tool that you used?
Oh,
I think you mentioned it earlier. Grease pencil
yeah.
and something else.
It's called a blue pencil.
Oh, blue pencil.
Yeah, blue pencil. Two. There's a one, but I'm using the two.
And I've got one last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there any? Maybe it's two questions. Is there any advice that you can give to people just trying to break into the industry? Because some of these guys are, trying to get into film or get into games. Do you have any, general advice there, but also advice on just making your shop more dynamic, like you have,
Mm,
more interesting to watch?
right.
Make it stand out somehow.
Mm.
What are your ideas there?
Uh, I think it depends on where you apply to as well. Um, like if you're like I think I mentioned this earlier. Like if you're applying to a games animation, just focus on doing games animation. So you have your like just an attack and it goes back to the idle or jump. Just one single action in the center. Keep things very very clean and simple. Don't have like what I'm doing. I'm having animating the camera. Try not to animate the camera because like when you first start on the animation industry, I mean when you're first learning animation, you want to show that you understand the principles, the 12 principles. And when you have all these moving cameras, it's like another thing about you have to think about how to animate cameras. So just focus on what's important in trying to get people to see that you know how to animate. Focusing on the 12 principles. This is my thing. I don't like to add music in my demo reels. And every time I watch somebody's demo reel, I just mute it right away because it's just too loud and distracting. So I like to just turn it off. And I think a lot of people in the industry do that as well. They turn off the music because they look at like hundreds of demo reels a day or thousands, and it gets really overwhelming. So keep things very simple and clean and short as well. So like your demo reel can be 30 seconds or maybe a minute. It doesn't have to be 2 minutes long. It doesn't need a special After Effects graphics with your names on it and your email address. Just a simple black screen with your name and email. Keep it clean and simple, because all these people that are looking at your demo reel, their time is it's very um, valuable. So you want it to be like the best. It's like a pitch. You know, you're selling yourself. You want to pitch yourself in 30 seconds, 1 minute, go. So yeah, that's one of the things I think like they haven't talked about in presenting your demo reel, is to keep things simple and try to see things. Um, the people who look at your demo try to see it from their shoes. Like they have a long day and they don't really have the mental brain power to concentrate and look at things. Um, uh, so making things short and to the point, and I think it's very good to do.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's great advice. And oh yeah, and then that last question, how to really just make your shot stand out, how to make it more, again, dynamic, exciting, interesting.
Mm.
Like the shot you created here with Ekko.
Right.
Yeah, any just general advice there?
Hmm.
Really, just to bring it up a notch from what you've seen as well. Other people's shots.
Right.
Um, yeah, is there anything you would, just tell people like, really, how do you just give it that extra, you know, that little bit
Right.
of extra oomph?
Right. I think you should really have fun with your animation. Animate the characters that you want to animate and animate it the way you want it to. You don't have to think about like um, the animation industry wants this style. You know, this is the Pixar style that everybody wants. You don't need to animate it that way. You can animate your style, but still apply the 12 principles into it. Um, yeah, I've seen animation which is just it's just on twos, like a Spider Verse. It's like a blocking plus stage, but because they put a lot of time and they actually trying to be they they're doing something that they personally like. You know, it's not something the industry likes. And when you put when you work on things that shows that you really enjoy this particular style, this particular character, this thing that they're doing, it really shows to the viewers that this is your favorite animation, I bet. And I think that really helps you stand out by doing what you really like. I hope. I
Yeah,
hope. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that transfers into your animation. Your final product. You can tell.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Before I got into this, I didn't create this style, but I found this animation style of mine. I was in this a state like everybody, where I was applying to studios and I was not getting any hits. Everybody was rejecting me, and yeah, that's where I was. That was the point that I talked about, where I almost quit the animation industry.
Mhm.
And at that point, I was like, just animate the way you like it. Don't think about what people want or what people expect from you. And I think that really helped me, push me to the finish line and get my other jobs that I've been getting.
Yeah, and then from that point, sorry, another question. Since
Mm.
you brought up, from that point, did you start updating your demo reel with stuff that you animated in your own time and stuff that you love doing? Because I'm sure you had a demo reel that just wasn't getting you hired, and
Uh,
and then you
yeah,
started.
like all these animations that I do, I compile it, and it was the one that got me hired for sure.
Yeah.
I put it up on Twitter and it exploded, and I was getting a lot of messages from people, and that's how I got my break into doing animation for Ori and the Will of the Wisp. because Ori has a very similar snappy kind of style, and the people there likes things like this.
Yeah,
So you usually attract people that likes what you do. You don't have to mold yourself to what everybody wants you to do.
yeah,
There's a
that's
spot
good.
for you everywhere.
Yeah, and yeah, you guys are lucky now. You have social media. When I started, there was no social media. I was burning stuff on the CDs and sending them out.
Oh wow,
Yeah, shows,
CDs. That's crazy.
shows you my age. Yeah, but anyway, that was great. That was really good advice. I think everyone needed to hear that as well. Um, Everyone's in that same stage of just trying to build the demo reel and get hired. So,
Is
but
that something that you get a lot from students? It's like they struggle to find work or things like that.
a lot of people I meet, yeah, and it really depends on the timing, like you said as well.
Yeah.
I think also a lot of again, like people I speak to, um, maybe they didn't get what they needed from somewhere else. So yeah, that's why we'll have a conversation and start working on a shot together. But I always try and encourage and nurture as much as I can their ideas, while
Right.
just guiding them with my experience. Um,
Right.
yeah, I try not to take over too much.
Mm.
That's when it becomes, not their shot and my shot. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like you're saying, it's really important that it's your shot and your ideas, and that translates into the final product. So,
Y- Yeah.